Hi, this is Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles coming at you with another toy review. This time we're taking a look at the Thundercats Tygra figure from LJN Toys from 1985. So the first thing we're going to do is take a closer look at the figure. Alright, so taking a look at Tygra. So this toy line, the Thundercats toy line, is one of my favorites of all time, and this figure is one of my favorites. This is one of the figures I actually had, and I love this guy. There's actually two different versions of Tygra. In 1985, the original release, they actually released a younger looking version of Tygra first. In the first episode of the Thundercats, they're actually in space, and they're each character's a little bit younger, especially Lion-O, and then they go into like a hyper sleep, and they all age a little bit. And then Tygra is the only figure that actually got that progression for some reason. So in the original Series 1, which was in 1985, you got a younger looking version of Tygra, which I'll show. And it's totally different molded figure, body, head. And then in the Series 2 line, they also made this one, which is the one I had. I had this older looking one. And the one I prefer, you know, much more than the other one. They each came in two different variants. So they had one where it came with just the figure, and then one where it came with Wily Cat. And they both had that, the Series 1 and the Series 2 versions of that. So the figure is pretty basic. It's got pretty decent articulation for that time. It has his head will turn and his legs will move. So his head will turn and then his legs will move, you know, forward and back. They don't go very far back other than the standing position. And then his arms do move, but this one moves freely. You can do whatever you want with it. And this one's basically the Battle-matic action. He's got a switch on the back that if you flip the switch, it'll actually make the bolo whip go. Now this is not an original whip. Unfortunately, sometimes these weapons can sell for 3 or 4 times more than the actual figure will cost. So this is actually a handmade reproduction, which is almost made exactly the same. Maybe with just a little bit of a shinier material on the whip strings, but a really good interpretation of this. It looks exactly the same when you compare them. But this is basically the action you get with this guy. He will whip, and it always had trouble whipping, and it has little beads on the end. And there were two different variants where you had an orange looking bead, and some of them were a little bit yellower looking, but pretty nice feature for this guy. So here is the Series 1 figure, and you can kind of take a look at his face. As I kind of pan the camera over, you'll kind of see the difference. I mean, a pretty substantial difference. Even in, look at the body structure, it's a totally different figure. The hands are different, everything's different about this guy. Now obviously the one on the left, the Series 1 young Tygra, he looks like he kind of been hit by a truck. His paint's fading. It's definitely not in good condition. I mean, even his color is fading, but so it's not a good overall interpretation of a mint figure on that end, but at least you can see the differences, what they look like. Like I said, I had the one on the right, the old Tygra, and that's the one when I think of Tygra, that's the one I think of. But some people might have had the younger one, so this kind of just shows you that. So just for size comparison, here we have both the Tygras next to mumm-ra. So you can see mumm-ra is a much larger figure in the toy line, and then the older Tygra is much larger and more muscular than the younger Tygra. Like I said, I don't like the younger Tygra at all. But Tygra's always been one of my favorite characters. Just the way it was when I was growing up. I had an older brother, and when we got toys or when we got different video games, you know, he always was the #1 as far as like player, or you know, he got the #1 choice typically. So when we played Super Mario Brothers, he was Mario, I was Luigi, so I always liked Luigi. In this toy line, you know, he got to pick Lion-O and Panthro, so I had Tygra and Chitara. So those were like, you know, my two favorite Thundercats. And then I did have mumm-ra. I'm not sure what other figure he really liked. I think it might have been Slythe. But, you know, this is a figure I got to play with, so I liked him, you know, incredibly. Just like with Batman and Robin, you know, he typically got the Batman figures and I got the Robin figures. And that's just the way it was. But, you know, kind of how I grew up. So this guy is, you know, one of the ones I got to play with and one of my favorite figures, you know, of all time. So once again, it's been Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles. Any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys next time.